So welcome to Real Estate Stories. I'm your host, Cody Coda. We have our co-host today, Jake McClure,
How's everyone doing?
Doing
and our
good.
special guest, Genevieve Lane, has joined us. So welcome, Genevieve.
Thank you.
Well, tell the viewers and listeners just a little bit about you real quick.
Okay, so I'm new to real estate in the Oklahoma City area. Um, just kind of getting my feet wet and enjoying what I'm learning as I go.
Okay,
So I work
awesome.
real estate part-time. But I'm trying to bridge that gap to get into a little bit more full-time.
Hey, we've been there. I've definitely been there myself. Okay, so what brought you into real estate?
Somebody told me I'd be good at real estate. I'd make a good realtor. And so I guess I was convinced because they spent about 3 months just saying, why don't you get into real estate? I think you'd be good at it. You should do it. So I was just like, okay. So I thought I'd try it out.
What's been your biggest takeaway so far? That have they been right? What are your thoughts on it so far?
Well, I guess it appears easy, and a lot of realtors make it look easy. I did
hmm
not realize what I was getting into. Um, it's work. It's a lot of
Okay.
work. And
So,
I kind of understand some things that just make sense about those commission fees. They're
hmm
definitely, it's hard work.
Right.
so what is it that you're doing now as you're transitioning full time into it?
So right now I am a disability specialist examiner for Department of Rehabilitation Services, Social Security Administration. Um, I evaluate all levels of disability claims for the states of Oklahoma, Kansas, Colorado, California, New Mexico, and Arizona, and sometimes Texas.
Wow, sounds like you got a lot of responsibility.
I do,
So
yeah.
what is it that you think keeps you in real estate?
Um, More of a personal drive. So I've invested in myself by putting, it costs money to get into real estate. I've paid for classes. I've paid for the yearly fees and whatnot. And I'd like to pay myself back. So, and I can do it. So just keep going and just kind of see where it leads me.
Okay, awesome. What what advice? 'Cause I know you've been. How long have you been an agent?
That's kind of embarrassing. I have been an agent for, it will be 2 years in June.
That's not embarrassing. Yeah, nothing embarrassed about that. What advice would you given yourself back then when you got into it?
I the advice I would have given myself is to probably interview with 10 different brokerages
Wow. 10,
and
huh?
do that before you get your license. That way, after you've spent the time interviewing, asking all the right questions, you pick the right brokerage. So that's, one of the things I wish I had known. But I didn't know any realtors when I got into real estate.
Really? You didn't know anyone?
That's a good.
No, not that I could get an honest answer out of.
Yeah, you felt like they were shooting it straight with you.
So the one person I did know, I think it was there's a company that does like a multi-level marketing.
hmm
So everything they said was positive, and I was really encouraged to sign on with them.
hmm
And so I think it was more that those little things that you kind of wish you had heard, you learn the hard way. I didn't sign on
Right.
with them, but I learned the hard way through other brokerages, but nobody really said, do your research, what would
hmm
work best for you. And don't feel, don't feel bad if you leave after a month of signing when you realize this company's not working for me.
Yeah. If it's not for you, it's not for you.
Yeah, that's come up so many times. They've actually have an assessment nowadays on the Broker League website that's actually a needs match assessment for you as an agent you can take, kind of find out what's important to you as an agent. And with that assessment, they'll actually match you up at the right office that's going to be best suited for what you're looking for. So obviously that didn't exist back then, but that's obviously something that's really good. How long did it take for you to get your first closing?
So my first closing will be in a month. I have not had a closing at all until just recently. So in 1 month, it will be my first closing.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Exciting. Good job. What was your support? What did it look like when you got into the business?
I would say my support was, my family giving me that time to go to real estate school, because I was in class for about 4 hours every day for so many weeks doing the night school program. So just being able to go to school and not have to worry about obligations as a mother, there's so much outside of, you just have a lot of responsibilities working full time, having a family. So having that freedom to really focus on the school and getting the license, and even having, someone who's there to help you out when you want to go show a home or you do an open house. They take on the other life responsibilities for me.
That's really good. You can obviously tell you're a hard worker. What disillusions did you have when you kind of got into it?
That it's easy and you just fill out 2 pieces of paper and you're done and you've completed all you need for a sale. So
That's not how it works.
No, it's not that easy. There's a lot of learning the different applications and resources available to find a home, finding a buyer, finding a seller, calling, making appointments. I definitely feel like it's my job to be an advocate for a buyer or seller, and it's my job to make sure everything happens smoothly. So it's my responsibility to make sure those appointments happen, to make sure satisfaction comes with those appointments and resolve any issues. So it's not just filling out 2 pieces of paper, turning it into the bank and being done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's quite a bit more that agents do. What does your support look like today?
So I have my family support, but I would say with the brokerage I'm with now is very supportive. So that's made all the difference. I have a lot of support from my broker as well as all the other realtors who are part of the brokerage, and that's not something I'm familiar with. So I think, and that's really helped me find leads, find sellers, buyers. I think that support's changed everything for me.
That's awesome. Who's your inspiration, Genevieve, and why?
So my inspiration is very much the Clemens team. I really love hearing what they have to say, and the reason being is I'm not from the Oklahoma City area, so my circle.
Where are you from?
I'm from Tulsa. My circle is so small, my network is so small, and when I heard them talk about their circle being small and I see how successful they are, it reminds me that even though I don't have friends and family to be my little flame starter to get my business growing, I have other options that work, and they're going to work as long as I put that work into them. So they inspire me a lot because they're very successful. Yeah, they're doing great.
Chance and Nish Clemens, they sure are. I can see why you look up to them. What's been your most embarrassing real estate story you want to share with us?
So my most embarrassing story, I had a buyer interested in a house, and I'm going to show the house, and it's a flip home. So it looks really nice on the inside. The outside, the grass was not maintained. So the city kind of had 3 notes saying, hey, you need to mow the grass. But as we're looking through majority of the house, that's really been renovated. It's really nice. Well, now we're going to go into the garage, which follows down into a basement area that's not been renovated. Dirt floors, and with the grass being overgrown, we're looking out in the backyard, going through the garage to come back to the front. And my buyer turns around, and there was a huge full-grown orb spider on his back. And so if you don't know what an orb spider is, I recommend Googling it. The body is about the size of 2 grapes, and the diameter is about the size of a navel orange. So it's massive on his
It's a pretty
back.
big spider.
It is a harmless spider. Also, it was another name is a wolf spider. It's just that catches
No, it's
bugs
not
in
a
the
wolf
net.
spider. It's an
It's
orange.
not.
It's black and yellow. It's harmless, but when you don't like spiders and you don't want to touch spiders,
Oh, wait, I've seen those. Those are the ones that make those really like big nets
Yeah, and
or
they wrap
webs.
their prey in like a little cocoon, and they eat them.
I've
I
seen
mean,
those. If you walk up to the
they're about
web,
that big. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, they're huge. And so I just told him, I said, you have a spider on your back. And he's like, oh, would you brush it off? Being that the spider's almost as big as my hand, I grabbed my shoe and I started like trying to brush it off with my shoe. And it was holding on pretty tight. So I gave him 3 good whaps with my shoe and knocked him off. But I was also transporting my buyer, so I don't want this spider in my car either. So what do I do? And that's what I did. And I was just like, I'm so sorry, I didn't know what else to do.
so you beat your client with your shoe.
That's
I
what I
did.
heard. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
heard.
That's pretty, yeah. Okay. What about scary story?
My scariest story, probably I would say, would be in that same house, because also down in the basement area, I mean, if you just think of your horror movies you've seen, that's what it looked like. There was a big drum of whatever, must have had oil or something, rusted out, half burnt, just laying around, wood scattered everywhere with nails out the ends, all rotted away. The walls were not there. I mean, you could see the bones of the house, and the floor was just dirt. And I mean, who knows what was in the trash and the stuff under that home. It was pretty spooky. I mean,
It sounds like it.
you could tell a good ghost story in there and get someone running out scared straight.
What's been the most uncomfortable or stressful or story that you've had?
The most stressful story, well, I was showing a home, and the layout of the house, you have the front of the home with the lockbox on the front. However, there's no parking in the front of the house. The parking's all in the back of the house, and the house is your typical square home. So all the parking's in the back. It was very cold. So I get there about 15 minutes early, just to open up the house for my buyers. And I walk in, and there's a beautiful white cat just standing in the back area. And the note to me said, don't let the cats out. So I went to go just, say hi to the cat, pet the cat, because I'm a cat person. And the cat, it didn't necessarily hiss, it didn't meow, but it was like a guttural growl, and it opened its mouth really big. It was a warning, like, get back. So I was like, okay. So I stepped back a little bit. Well, then the cat jumps down and it's walking towards me, and its tail is going back and forth. She's mad. And so I was like, okay. So I just walked out of the house, and I called the listing agent, and I said, hey, could you have the seller come get the cat? My buyers are really interested in seeing the house. They're ready to buy. So they said they would, and my buyers come up, and I told them, I said, you're welcome to go in there, but I've been attacked by a cat a couple of times, so I'm a little hesitant. And I opened the front door. They had a pillar right by the front door, and the cat was sitting there and just staring at us. And so my buyers weren't comfortable going in, but we're standing outside in the cold, just waiting. About 15 minutes go by, and I don't know if the seller has gotten the cat contained or not. Because of the layout of the house, she had gone in the back to get the cat and left. But also the way the street runs, the entrance to the house is down a little alleyway. So I didn't see her car coming along the area where we were standing. So I called the listing agent, and I was like, okay, has the homeowner come and got the cat? And they said yes. Well, of course, my buyers were pretty furious because the husband was embarrassed for the wife and kind of mad that his wife's in the cold. And so he really made his anger known. And I was like, okay, well, do you guys still want to look at the house? So we did. And I just thought, well, that was unpleasant, but it was resolved. And then I thought, okay, I'm just going to call the lead agent of the team that was listing this house, just to say, hey, I appreciate your
Crazy cat.
I appreciate your homeowner coming and get the cat, but maybe if your secretary could have called us next time just to let us know, that would have been nice, because now the secretary was on speaker, so she heard the cuss storm my buyer had. And the lead agent was just started getting on to me, calling me a few names, telling me I was out of line. Mm-hmm.
What in the world?
And the lead agent is an old friend from college who I thought would remember me, because my name is Genevieve. Nobody has that name. That's very rare. So I had made the comment. I was like, don't you remember me? And I was like, why? No. And he said, I just worked on a deal with you, and apparently I caused him a lot of problems, but I never worked on a deal. So I was just like, I sure would like to know who this Genevieve is, because we've never worked together. So that was stressful. And I learned that calling old friends, maybe to say, hey, a little better customer service would be, appreciated. And now I should just keep my opinions to myself.
I mean, professional courtesy is not something that should be optional, I don't think. But I mean,
we were standing outside, and it was back when we had that cold weather.
Mm-hmm.
It was cold. It was very cold. And so it just would have been what I thought.
What was the time period between, like, you called, asked them to get the cat, they got the cat, and then didn't tell you? What time frame are we looking at here?
So I believe they got the cat within 5 minutes. And then 10 minutes later, I called to see if they had gotten the cat. So we had been, and so it was stressful, and I just thought it'd be so simple to say, hey, they got the cat, you're welcome to go in, you don't have to worry about anything.
These are the things they don't prepare agents for in real estate school. For crazy cats waiting out in the cold.
I would have punted that cat. I tell you what, finding to show a house, that thing's getting out of the way.
What's
Well,
what's been? Go ahead.
I've been attacked by a couple of cats who were friendly, and they're pretty quick. You could try, but good
Mhm.
luck.
Yeah.
The cat's gonna win. The cat always wins.
What's been the happiest story you want to share?
I would say the happiest story would be, finding someone the home they want. So the house that I'm closing on the end of May, that's a success story because it had everything my buyer wanted without them having to build it the way they want it. So spending about 6 months searching for a home and then finding, down to little details like double oven, beautiful view in the city, being able to see nature in the suburbs, and in a gated community, a nice area. So hitting all those points,
Sounds like it has it all. Awesome. And then, what's your all-time, hands down, favorite story you want to share with us?
Well, I don't feel like I've had enough experience yet to really have too many stories. I think my favorite story is my spider story because how bizarre.
You've already told us that one.
So I don't have anything new. I'm so this is the first office that I've been with that's given me opportunity to even have stories with buyers and sellers. So even though it's almost been 2 years, I feel brand new.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Awesome. When did you know, Genevieve, that you had made it in real estate?
Well, I'm working on it. I think the fact that I haven't given up yet.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't say I've made it. I'd say that's where I'm trying to go.
That's awesome. I like that answer. What's the best advice you've ever gotten in real estate?
I would say the best advice, stick with it. Um, and it comes from somebody who I was working on a deal with. Um, my buyers found another house, so we weren't able to complete that deal, but the realtor was just so kind and helpful and encouraging. Of course, she was wanting the transaction to happen, and so was I. But even though it didn't, I just kind of just told her how I was new and just different things and how sometimes it can be discouraging. And she just said, we all have those stories. Stick with it and you'll get there. And once you do, you'll know. She says, then you're going to have a hard time keeping up. You're going to have so much business.
I like that. You're living proof of that. Stick with it.
Yeah.
How would you describe your personality, Genevieve?
I would say I'm very outgoing, detail oriented, and I have a proactive nature. So I think I can be successful just because I'm quick to call someone back. If somebody has a question, I get an answer within 12 to 24 hours. Sometimes you have to call businesses to get an answer, and so you're waiting on a response. But being able to provide that answer the next day lets me know that I have the traits just in my personality that can help me out in this business.
That's good. So when you said something else about being proactive, what did you mean by that?
Well, just making that phone call that you need to make without hesitating, without overthinking it, just saying, this is what I need to do. I'm just going to do it, take care of it. No better time than now.
So how have others described you maybe before where you don't necessarily agree with that description of yourself?
I've had other people describe me as being quiet, and I definitely have a little bit of a reserved nature, but I'm not quiet because I think sometimes people feel that I won't stand up for myself because I'm a small person to begin with, and I'm very observant. So they think me being observant is actually me being quiet, but it's like, no, I'm just assessing the whole scenario.
You're saying you're small in size as a person.
Yeah, I'm not very tall. I'm little,
I
and
got you.
yeah. So I have a very, I'm that outgoing part of me people don't expect, because I guess you could probably just looking at me be like, oh, she's meek, but I'm actually pretty strong-willed, and I'm not afraid to take action or get stuff done or talk to someone or take care of whatever needs to be taken care of.
It's awesome. I agree with all that, by the way. What's something that people don't know about you that you want to share?
So I'm very resourceful. I know how to change a tire, change my oil. I know how to ride a dirt bike. You probably wouldn't think that looking at me.
Did you grow up with like brothers, like siblings, like a bunch of boys, or when's that
I have a
come from?
younger brother. Just meeting friends and trying something new. Like, okay, I'll try that. And so people are like, I'll show you how to ride this dirt bike. And now my dad's a mechanic, so daddy's girl. So it's very important to know how to, take care of your car,
Mhm.
the simple things. So he just taught me how to do it. And when he was working on stuff in the shop, I was right there handing him the tools and learning.
Okay, cool. I like that. Well, Jake likes to do a little bit of PI work on our guests. And
Got a question, I feel like.
what's
Oh,
that?
so you did PI work, so you looked stuff up?
Something like that. He's way overselling it. And stop doing that. But yeah, I've tried to go over that. But you forgot a question, I feel like. And if you had to sell your house and you weren't.
Hold on, bro. That's the last question.
Is it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you
Wait till the
okay.
end for that one. Yeah.
So you messed up the order of the questions here. Haven't told
Sorry,
me.
man.
But I don't really have anything. I couldn't really find anything. It's usually social media, deep dive, and I can't really find anything. You're pretty quiet on the social media. It's pretty normal stuff.
We keep clean.
There's nothing. There's nothing. I mean, yeah, I can't find anything that I would say is questionable that would really surprise anybody. I couldn't really find anything. What's something that I don't know that you feel should be different in real estate, that you coming into one like have had in your head that was going to be the real estate industry, that you feel from maybe from a previous industry or like another experience that you feel like could be better?
What could be better?
Yeah.
I would just say the real estate school that I went to, maybe preparing you for the
What
real
you actually
life.
do.
Yeah, so I learned all the book work,
Meets and
but
bounds
maybe
descriptions and riparian rights and things that don't matter to anyone but the title company.
right. Yeah, so just maybe some sort of resource or something to help you really pick the right brokerage for you.
Mhm.
So I think that matters the most. I really do.
Some type of like.
I agree with that. Okay, Jake, did you have any other provocative, controversial questions that you
Nope.
pulled out of your bag?
He
Nope.
didn't do a good job at his PI work.
Yeah, because that's not.
There's a couple things out there on Facebook that you didn't find.
Really? I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I've got a
Was
few
there?
pictures with the All American Rejects out on Facebook.
Really? Well, I
Yeah,
saw
but they're not on my profile. They're on other friends' profiles.
Ah, see.
But I'm tagged in them somehow. I don't know.
We'll have to dive deeper. Was there any questions that you thought we should have asked you, Genevieve, that we didn't?
Yeah, what makes you unique?
What makes you unique?
So something somebody pointed out to me is I have this ability to mimic. Um, so I never realized I did it, but I guess it's a trait that really makes you successful in sales. So when I'm talking with someone, if somebody does a little bit of this as you're talking to them, naturally, I do a little bit of this too. So if they're holding their hands in front of them, one hand on the other, then I tend to hold my hand in front of me, one hand on the other. If they're standing with the right foot forward, then I have the same stance as if it were mirrored, and it's
Was
called
that taught?
mimicry. Huh?
Was that taught or?
No, no. Someone actually pointed out I did that, and it was a psychologist that pointed it out, and I never realized it, but it makes people feel comfortable with you. So the more likely you mimic someone's stance, mannerisms, the more comfortable they feel with you because they feel they can relate with you, and they do it subconsciously.
Mirroring.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, that's cool. I've heard, yeah, the mimicking or mirror matching. I've never seen anybody that just does it naturally though, without being trained or taught how to do that.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. There you go. Okay, so staple question is: let's say, Genevieve, that you weren't an agent, okay, and you had to sell your house. What agent would you choose to sell your house? And the rules are is you can't be anybody that's on your real estate team. Of course, it can't be near Jake. So who would you hire to sell your house?
I would hire Kristen Malloy. So my first impression of her, she's very knowledgeable. She was willing to help me. She offered assistance just learning real estate. If you need any help, she gave me her business card, her phone number. She said, just call me. I'd be happy to help. And she has a lot of integrity. So I think if I were using someone to sell my house, which I've already, I'm inspired by the Clemens team. They do a great job, but I want to, just pick somebody else that I know too. I think she'd do a great job. I think she'd do an honest job, and seems very easy to work with. So I think I'd have a successful transaction, and I would be happy, and my buyers would be happy too.
Awesome. I'm sure that's going to be a great choice. Where can the viewers and listeners find you, Genevieve, if they want to connect?
So they can find me at jen.homesearchokc.com, and that's spelt with a G for Genevieve. My first name starts with the letter G. Or they can call me. My number is 405-761-6642.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see everybody next time.
All right.
You're welcome. Thanks for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much. Thank you so much, Genevieve.
Bye.
You're welcome. Bye.